What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we are going over Tech Tuesday. If you're new here, you're not sure what it is. It's where we take the deck of the week and kind of talk about some ways in which you can better your matchup against it and talk about some ways to kind of counter it. So we did talk about Rob Lucci this week, and Rob Lucci is the black deck within OP03, and it plays a lot of cards that kind of deplete your board of resources. So the best way to manage that is to kind of make sure that you don't have as many resources that can get, messed with. So starting off with blue, we do have Draco Mihawk. Draco Mihawk is good because when you play it, it doesn't KO a character, it just places the character to the bottom of the deck, which means that you can get rid of things like the Borsalino, you can get rid of things like the Fukuro blockers, cards that, normally can't be KO'd by effects. So it's super solid at being able to rid the board of those things, especially 5-drop Smoker when it has double strike active. Next we have Monkey D. Luffy. Monkey D. Luffy is solid because of the on play. You can trash 2 cards and then place a character with a cost of 4 less to the owner's hand. And then it gains double attack. This is really solid when you're doing it in the factor of the turn that you're attacking. Being able to bounce a Borsalino back to the hand or a Fukuro, it means that you're able to put on aggression, especially if they only have 1 blocker. And it means that you're going to be having a double attack, which puts extra pressure, which means that that's more cards that they have to discard from their hand if they want to block it, or if they decide to take it, you're winning the game that way. And it's just really solid. Next we have Jinbei. Jinbei's in here simply put because when it's KO'd, you can put a cost of 3 or less on your opponent's board to the bottom of the deck. It means that you can put something like the Fukuro blocker down, which usually they'll play early, and that's really annoying because that card can't be KO'd by any effects, whereas Borsalino can still be KO'd by effects as long as it's your opponent's turn. Then we have Doflamingo. Doflamingo again is on here simply put because when you play it, you get to bounce a character to the owner's hand. Same with Overheat. Your leader gains 4,000 power, and then you return 1 character with a cost of 3 or less to the owner's hand, or the trigger, it allows you to return a character with a cost of 4 or less to your opponent's hand. So this kind of blue is all about board control in the sense of being able to bounce the characters, and it does a really good job versus black because black has such hard removal counter because they can't be removed as characters. It means that you still have a way to deal with their board and clear it. Then we have Brickfist. I have Brickfist in here because you get to return 1 character with a cost of 4 or less to the owner's hand. It's just an easier overheat in the sense that you can use it at any point in your turn, whereas it's not a counter and it can get rid of Borsalinos, which are usually the harder card to counter, simply put, because they do get the plus 1,000. Then we have 3,000 Worlds. I have this in here simply put because you get to place it to the bottom of the owner's deck, and the trigger means that you get to place a Fukuro, so you can usually target anything with a cost of 5 or less, and the Smoker is a 5-drop, so you can definitely target it. And then I have Sables in here. You can pay for Dawn and then return a character with a cost of 7 or less, and it does have a good trigger, so it's super solid. Next for green, I have the Eustace Captain Kidd blocker. I have this in here because even though it can be KO'd by effects in terms of your opponent having to waste resources, it's able to apply enough pressure that it's, warranted to have on board. You're able to attack with it, and then you can have it as a blocker, and it works well with things like Paradise Waterfall, which we'll get into later, but overall just super solid. The best way to play against black is to be as aggro as possible, because the more aggro you are, the more cards they have to discard to protect their life, which means that they can't discard cards off of the effects, to bounce characters or kill characters, which means that you're benefiting from it. You're either forcing them to dump cards from their hand to protect their life, which means your board is more clear, or you're forcing them to keep their hand size big, but in turn they're taking life. Then we have Basil Hawkins. Basil Hawkins is good because, you put a Dawn on it, you're swinging 7,000 at the leader. If they choose to block it, you get to restand it and swing again. We have Jin in here, simply put, because you get to rest 2 of your opponent's characters. So it means that you play the Jin down, you have 6 Dawn to work with on the 10 curve. It means that you can actually kind of benefit from it and kind of get attacks through. Next I have Monkey D. Luffy, the 7-drop. This is simply good in here. Same reason as Eustace Captain Kidd. You can get it down as a blocker, and then you can play up to one of your Film or Straw Hat Crew type characters. So if it's 7,000 attacker, if you choose it to be, you can play down the Borsalino that restands it after. Or you can simply put, just have it as a blocker, but then you can play down the Brook, and then Brook can play down some more characters. So it means that you get board presence for less Dawn. So you get a 7-drop into a 4-drop into a 3-drop, which means that you can, super benefit off of that play, which means that your board isn't as dealt with when it comes to your opponent, KOing your characters. It means that you can actually sit there, build up a big board, and they have to commit a lot in order to get rid of it. Then I have Odin. I have Odin in here simply put because on the KO you get to refresh the character. You can play something down like Okiku, or you can play down something like the Izo that can tap the Borsalino, and then you also have access to being able to swing twice with it, so you can put extra pressure. Used as Captain Kidd in here. Black has a hard time dealing with it if they don't have the removal aspect. If they do have removal though, it means that, they're playing more resources from their hand, having to discard cards. So even if they just KO it instead of attacking into it, it still means that they're burning resources because they have to get through this no matter what. Then we have Kiku in here. Really solid, just being able to rest characters so you don't have to deal with the blockers as much. Then we have Yamato really good against Black. You have double attack and banish. Banish means that the cards are going to the discard, which means that they don't get to have them in hand, which means that they're more likely to lose hand advantage trying to out-combo attacks. And then Straw Sword, you just get to rest a character. Paradise Totsuka, you rest a cost of 4 or less, self-explanatory. 3 sword style Onigiri. I have this in here simply put because it's a counter, but also you get to have bodies on board. So you get a 6,000 power, plus you get to play a 3 cost or less. And then the trigger means that you get to rest one of your opponent's leaders or characters with a cost of 5 or less. Punk Gibson, same thing, you just rest a character. It's good for, making sure that you can live lethals. Super solid. Then Paradise Waterfall, you get to restand a character. As I said, it's really good with something like the 7-drop used as Captain Kidd or the Monkey D. Luffy. And then for purple, we have Kaido. I have Kaido in here because with being able to KO one of your opponent's characters with a 6 cost or less, it's not super relevant due to not being able to be KO'd by effects with Black, but you can KO something like Sakazuki and go from there, but it also gains Rush, so you get the Rush aspect of being aggressive. X-Drake, your opponent trashes a card from their hand. Really solid because they're already hesitant on what they want to discard, and they already have to discard cards for their KO effects, so it means that you get to win the hand advantage war. Magellan, super solid at being able to disrupt their curve. Most Black players like to play on the 2-4-6 curve, so you get this down turn 3, you put them back a turn, they're really in an awkward spot. Monkey D. Luffy, just for the rush aspect. You don't have to play it, but if you want more rush characters for the purple side of things, definitely solid. And then we have Hell's Judgment in order to, kind of protect yourself from lethal, and also the factor of the trigger being able to disrupt their Dawn more. Top Knot, again, you get to return a character with a cost of 4 or less to the bottom of the owner's deck. This is really solid because you can put Borsalino back, which means that you don't have to deal with that blocker. And then we'll get into red. Red is mainly all rush based. So we have Zoro. Zoro's in here. Just the best rush character. Jozu, if you're playing a Whitebeard pirate deck, you gain rush. Same with Ace. Ace is really solid as a rush attacker though, because you can give 2 things minus 3,000, which means that the plus 1,000 on Borsalino's side really isn't a factor. Then we have Monkey D. Luffy. You can get through the blockers, which means you can hit through lethal. Monkey D. Luffy, this is the promo one. Dawn times 2, it gains rush, so you get a 9,000 swing that has rush. Pretty solid. And then we have Jet Pistol. Normally Jet Pistol doesn't work against Black, but with Borsalino, if it's your opponent's turn and they swing at you, the Jet Pistol trigger activates and you can KO Borsalino. Simply put, because Borsalino states that it's only during your opponent's turn that it can't be KO'd by effects, so it's really solid. We have Diablo Jam. Same thing as the Monkey D. Luffy. You can just swing through. Fire Fist. Normally, Fire Fist is kind of awkward, but you can KO some of their searchers and things like that might be, attackers. But Fire Fist is good in the sense that when it's your opponent's turn and they're attacking you, you can actually use the trigger and KO a Borsalino. We want to try to play as much removal as possible. And then you have Fiery Doll. I have this in here simply put because it's an extra 4,000 power, which means that it's more cards they have to discard if they want to protect against the swing or a blocker that they have to waste, and it's also pure aggression. Then finally for yellow, we have Charlotte Katakuri. Again, it's just rush based, so it means that you can look at your opponent's cards and then also gain rush if you're behind, which most of the time you will be because you'll be busy trying to establish board. Then we have Charlotte Cracker. Again, Charlotte Cracker's in here just for double attack. Then we have Linlin. Of course, you're going to be playing Linlin, but I have it in here to work with Prometheus and Zeus. Prometheus and Zeus are really solid because you can rest both of them and give the Charlotte Linlin double attack plus banish, which, as we talked about with Yamato, is really solid. Then we have Soul Pocus from the starter deck. Soul Pocus is really solid because at 5, that means turn 3, you're forcing your opponent to either trash a life or give you extra life, which means that if you have a 1-drop on board and they give you an extra life, the double attack really isn't as beneficial towards them, and it means that you kind of force them to be in a checkmate situation when you play this card. Simply put, because either way you're benefiting, they're either losing a life or you're gaining one, so it's really solid. And then we have Tropical Torment, where it's just early aggression. If your opponent has 4 or more life cards, place up to 1 of your card from your opponent's life in the trash. It's basically banish on an event, and it's really solid because you give them less cards to work with. So, with that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. The best way to play against black is to really just, mitigate their hand, do hard-hitting swings to kind of clear their board and force blockers. Force their hand to go lower, that way they can't really use the discard effects. And just be as aggressive as possible before they start disrupting your board at higher dawn curves. So, I think that's it, and I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's What to Buy Wednesday.